sexy people of the internet. It is Dave, it is Duncan, back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. For this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new release from Atlanta Noisebringers, Low Before the Breeze. The band's new album, A Hole Beneath the Home We Shared, is out on May 30th via Terminus Hate City. Founded in 2021 in the eclectic music hub of Atlanta, Georgia, Low Before the Breeze quickly emerged as a force within the heavy music scene, known for their intense live performances and deeply introspective lyrics. Their new release marks a bold evolution in the band's sound, weaving the personal turmoils of its members into a dense fabric of screamo, black metal, and harsh noise influences. From the raw emotional screams to the intricate guitar work, the album serves as a sonic narrative of vocalist and guitarist Andrew Spann's harrowing experiences, from his failed marriage and his father's illness to a tumultuous brush with physical abuse, all viewed through the lens of religious guilt. The album is a journey through dark and aggressive territories, yet is deeply personal and introspectively crafted. The recording process at Sobek Sound, under the expert hands of engineer Connor Ray and mixer Simon Small at Tunnel of Reverb, captures the band's raw live energy while refining their sound into a polished yet aggressive album. Mastering by Errol Ulug at Bright Light Studios ensures that the depth and complexity of the sound are preserved, giving listeners a visceral listening experience. For fans of heavy, introspective music, the album promises not just songs, but stories. Each track is a chapter, each lyric a line of survival. Dive into the depths of Low Before the Breeze's new album and experience the tumultuous, cathartic journey of A Hole Beneath the Home We Shared. Okay, so not a band I was aware of until about 2 weeks ago.
Interesting enough, about the same time I became aware of them.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is, Dave.
We reviewed the newest album from the Callous Cowboys, and one of the guest vocalists on that album was none other than Andrew Spann, vocalist guitarist of Low Before the Breeze. So I thought, let's find out more about these guys and see what they have to offer. They have a demo and 2 EPs under their belts, and this will be their debut full-length album, which is 10 tracks, clocks in about 38 and a half minutes. So, what did you think? What did you make of this Atlanta quartet and their new album?
So, there are albums that you listen to, right?
Yeah.
And when you get to the end, we've actually just spoken about one tonight. You get to the end, you're like, let's do that again. You're just like, and you are like instantly hitting play because you just want to go through all the fist pumping, stank face, raw energy, just,
yes.
Like, let's break some shit energy, right?
Yeah.
There are other albums that when you get to the end of it, you haven't enjoyed, so you never want to listen again. And there's other ones where you have to go and lie down in a darkened room.
Yeah.
Low Before the Breeze are the latter, right? Like, this was one of these ones that when I was emotionally fucking spent at the end of this album, and the closest I can get to liking it to a listening experience is Will Haven. Like, see, when you listen to a Will Haven album at the end of it, you're like,
yep.
It's like going to therapy. Like, I'd be like, tell me about you, and you're like, well, when I was 5, shat in the pool. You know what I mean? It's like trauma. It's like pure. It's the extraction of trauma.
Yeah.
Living through someone else's trauma is like, I love movies like that. Very much like yourself. I'm a big kind of dark drama guy. You know, where you like physically experience the worst of someone's life, and there's something achieved by the sharing of that experience. I think there's something achieved by the sharing of this album. Right?
Yeah.
I will stress that I genuinely think this is a hard recommend. Right? Not as in this is a hard recommend to anyone that you know you go there. I mean, it's a hard recommend. And I'm going to liken it to a particular part of the world where I am like overjoyed with the music that flourishes there, but a lot of it is so desolate and so fucking vastly cold. It's really hard to sit down with your pal who's like, oh, you know what, I went to see Slipknot last night. What you been listening to? Go and recommend some bands. You're like, not quite my tempo. We speak about this at length on Metal Epidemic, that Denmark has one of the most exciting scenes at the moment. But a lot of that music that comes out of there is fucking hugely abrasive, incredibly aggressive, and just emotionally distraught.
Yeah.
And we like, interestingly enough, to full circle this, we like in a lot of those bands like Telos, for example, like in a lot of their sounds back to being influenced by bands like Haven. So it's kind of full fucking circle here. We're just going round in a giant circle, Dave.
Yeah.
We're holding hands and we're singing Kumbaya over the shared pain of this vocalist on this album. So yeah, I'd want to stress that it's a hard recommend for me, but I think this album is exceptional. Right? I'll tell you why I think it's exceptional, because this isn't one tone either, right? I mean, it is like there's a lot of pain and a lot of anguish on display in this album, and there isn't really any much light getting through here. Like if you're holding out for the chance that the sun might peak, that doesn't happen on this album. But the angular facets, interesting enough, which are at times as disjointed as the Callista Boys, but handled in a completely different way, are kind of what make the band super interesting, and also make me think of Danish bands like LLNN for like dank stank, like industrialness. We mentioned before bands like dank stank, Telos, or what was it? It's not Demeter. What was the name of the band again? It begins with D.
Another one.
We loved them.
Yeah, Demersal.
Right,
Demersal.
Demersal as well. Like bands that like are just like crafted in ways of extorting pain in their sound, like Life Experience pain, but all have different genres. Kind of Low Before the Breeze will mix in like samples and industrial elements and fucking horrifically huge, discordant, hardcore, like rankness, and distorted vocals. Now, like this vocal, the dude that we mentioned before, he's using a combination of natural vocals, but also I can't believe this is all just natural. I think there are moments here where there is some sort of like TV distortion going on here, like tuning in between channels.
I think Andrew does vocals, also the guitarist, but he also handles all the electronics on the album.
So he's like, but that makes more sense to me because it feels like a unified vision. Like it feels like everything has been crafted so well together. And when I see that, like when you listen, a great example of that is Keep His Name Sacred and Pure, which is like could be on an LLNN album. It's fucking Author and Punisher levels of weird fucking sounds and jingly jangly fucking like industrial, like someone smacking pots and pans and dragging nails down carpets, and distortion, but like kind of spoken word weirdness and strange shit on the guitar. But it kind of feels like how a composer would approach writing something, in that I have an understanding of where all these parts exactly fit in, and I'm not taking ideas on that. This is how they all fit in. It's a really good example of that. Like this album will give you songs that are so fucking like disgustingly heavy, and you're like, that is just like the heaviest thing I've heard. And then the following track, which is maybe an interlude track, is so much more deeply disturbing than what you heard before. It's you almost welcome the discordant fucking savage guitar riffing and screaming again as your moment of brevity. It's fucking mind-blowing the way it's constructed. They're a band that really love to explore texture and sound. And I mentioned before darkness and heaviness, but heaviness utilised through different instrumentation. Like at times the heaviest thing on a track is the vocals. At other times the heaviest thing on a track is the electronics. At times the heaviest thing's a guitar, but never conventionally what I would do on a song. That's kind of what makes it really exciting, because musically it's different to how I would approach music. What's really interesting is there are moments where all those things sync up though, and you get the heaviest fuck vocals, the heaviest fuck electronics, the heaviest fuck guitars,
Yeah.
and it just becomes this giant fucking wall of sound, which is pushing the start. Like everything's in the fucking red, everything's clipping. It's it's a breaking point,
Yeah.
and it's fucking glorious because this album has levels.
Yeah.
It has levels that you don't realize exist almost to an extent. Once again, that's a Will Haven thing. Just when you think you've heard the heaviest, bendiest Bower riff, and Grady sang the last heaviest, screechy thing, you're going to hear the next track kicks in, they somehow do it heavier. It's fucking incredible. There are moments, and I want to mention like a couple here, and then I'm going to hand this over to you, which really made my jaw drop, like in terms of like how it connected to me artistically. And like put me in a visual space. And I'm glad that you mentioned, because I thought I was going to be a dickhead here and coming in with a statement which was like factually completely inaccurate and I was going to get crucified for it. But now knowing, because I don't read the PR, now knowing what you said about the PR, it kind of makes sense. There is a track on here, it's track 8, it's called Collecting Messages of Abuse, right? And upon the very first like one or two voicemail, it's kind of put together as like voice messages from your partner. So it's a female voice that does predominantly all of it. And in the first one or two that you hear, the uncomfortableness is in that this is someone coming back to you, basically like trying to push you away because you're too abusive. And then it continues on, and it's very, 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 very evident because you're a man and you think that way, that abuse would be one directional. It's very, very, very evident that this is a reversal of what you expect.
Yeah.
And this is, domestic, mental and physical abuse of a woman on a man. And that switch, when that realization comes in by about the third or fourth voice message, and the track continues with this kind of like build up of industrial mechanical like piston like sounds in the background, becomes more and more disturbing as it goes on, to the point that when it finished I just wanted to listen to fucking anything else. My skin was on fire. It is so disturbing and it's so well put together and it's excellent. And I had wondered when coming at this review if I was going to be like that you were going to say no, it's about a guy beating fuck at a woman. So I don't know what you thought, Duncan, but turns out I might have been on the right page. But I think in terms of raw visceral emotion, weirdly the tracks make you kind of feel like, I imagine the intended emotion is well, I'm going to make this person feel despair, I'm going to make this person feel hopeless, I'm going to make this person feel vulnerable, I'm going to make it like, I think the tracks somehow whole-soundedly capture that. So that was the first thing I wanted to mention. The second thing I wanted to mention is, and when we reviewed the Tellus album, which, by the way, if you like this band, please go and listen to Tellus. Please go and listen to them. We talked about the end track on the Tellus album is one where there's a slight glimmer of light on that track. And that is like the payoff for all the pain that you go through to get to it. This album closes on a track called Permission to Rest, right? And I read that and I was like that. Before we got to the track, I was like, right, but here's the payoff. The payoff is the moment of light, the flicker of hope at the end of the experience. That's where we're going. And I can't fucking wait to get there. And I will tell you this. This track is 7.5 minutes long. And at the midway mark, things start to lighten down, get a bit jazz roomy, get a bit Callous Day Boys, if you will. And I was like, thank fuck, right? Thank fuck. But I then started to notice the synths continue this very ominous, like kind of like discordant sort of chord that plays through. And I realised that like this quieter moment didn't make me feel any safer than anything before. And then the back half of the track is like the cunt punt that you weren't expecting, that continues to bring in. The back half of that track is like pain. pain. It's the flesh being peeled off you a bit at a time. It's the Frank in Hellraiser 2 in Leviathan with his fucking bloody handprint scrawled across the tail saying, "Help me, I'm in hell." That's what this album finishes on.
Yeah.
As a Last Lincoln thing, the production on this one is absolutely fucking stellar. Like this is like top tier production.
Yeah.
It captures everything with the importance it deserves on the track without over egging anything. Is he deeply unpleasant listen?
Yeah.
Like a deeply unpleasant listen, where I don't know what I was expecting. I genuinely didn't know before I hit play. I listened to this exactly 3 times, and it's not because that's all the time I had for it. I had plenty of time to listen. There was albums that we had to do for this week that I listened to like over 5 comfortably, and I don't usually go over 5, but plenty of time to listen to music. But I listened to this 3 times, and I spaced them out days in between.
Yeah.
There was no 2 listens on the same day, and it's mostly because I genuinely felt kind of like empty by the end of it. Which is a hard thing to do to me, musically. This is fucking, from a band I've never heard of before, for a debut release.
Yeah.
This is fucking awesome. It's absolutely brilliant. Reminds me the same way I felt listening to some of those Danish bands. Reminds me the same way I felt when we listened to that last Null album.
Oh yeah.
Where you get to the end of it and you're just like, fucking, oh, like you just feel like physically and mentally sapped. That's kind of this. I felt every nuance, every emotion, and everything this guy went through.
Yeah.
It's kind of fucking awesome. Atlanta might just be a little bit more interesting a place than I thought it was. And if this is kind of musically what's humming around there at the moment, maybe we should be paying a little bit more attention, because man, Ryan St. Null's from Atlanta as well, aren't they?
And all are
they not Atlanta?
Nashville, I think.
Are they? Well, that doesn't make any sense. They should sound country then. They should not be. I thought they were Atlanta, but obviously Callous Boys are Atlanta. These guys are Atlanta. It's really, really, really interesting. And there's one of these ones that's going to be a curiosity for me this year. I'm going to continue coming back to, for sure, just because I want to know more. Like I'm going to continually want to go back in the headspace and revel in it. It is dense musically. There's a lot going on here. It's constructed so well that I've said this before, when you're building a house of cards which involves a lot of electronic synths and a lot of samples and a lot of weirdness, one sound too much is literally like pulling a bottom card out. Like it can ruin a song or ruin an album. And the precision to detail on everything that's used here is just like, it's like, how do we make this song sound grimmer?
Yeah.
You played this fucking note. Like, how do we make you feel like hopeless and bereft of choice? You sing this scream. It's just yeah. This is
Yeah, I mean,
how did you get on, Dave?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you've just said. I mean, there's albums that you listen to, and then there's albums that you experience.
Yes, yeah.
And this is an album that you experience.
Every second of it.
They may also be from Atlanta, but there are some big differences between this band and the Callous Boys. When I listened to I Don't Want to See You in Heaven by the Callous Boys, I was singing along. I was feeling good about life.
We're feeling like a regular old star baby.
I really was, Duncan. This was not the same experience. By the end of this album, I wanted a Valium and some Weezer because I was utterly depressed. It was grim.
One of those happy nonsense Weezer albums, not like the Pinkerton and Good shit.
No.
I'm talking Green album. I'm talking Teal album, which is just cover songs that didn't exist.
This is like, I mean, like stylistically, it sits within a kind of chaotic hardcore, bit of mathcore, blackened hardcore, that kind of sphere. Yeah, I was getting heavy Will Haven vibes on this one.
You can't not.
Yeah. I mean, Will Haven maybe aren't anymore. They aren't quite as like maybe erratic and as extreme as this. Their early work maybe a little bit more, but the dread and the kind of the grey coating that of despair over this album is very similar to a Will Haven album. You can feel like you can actually just feel it come over you on that first track, that the darkness of Loss of a Kingdom, and it just runs right through the rest of this release. But musically, it's very interesting though. Like sometimes these albums are just too much, and you're just like, I can't deal with this. Like it's just too like the misery is just too much. But with this one, although that was there was a lot going on that I found extremely interesting. They have a very, very interesting balance of styles. Yeah, like hardcore is a big foundation of it, but as I said, they are bringing in like those kind of black metal elements, and there's a little bit of death metal and mathcore and noise and stuff, as well as all that kind of distorted electronic stuff. But it's well blended. It's not like like here's the mathcore track and this is the black metal track. It's the way they've kind of thrown all these styles in a blender. You end up with 10 tracks that are kind of equally shared in style, and they're very good at
that Pig Destroyer thing. Like when you listen to a Pig Destroyer album, like it's grindcore at its core, right? But what makes them stand out is the fact that they somehow unlocked the secret of atmosphere, and somehow putting that atmosphere and sometimes just slowing everything down when you're like, no, that's a grindcore album, it needs to be played 3 times the speed of any other song on the planet. It kind of resonates more because they take the moment to go like that. No, you need the pause here, but the pause isn't going to be a pleasant pause. Like just because we're pausing, that doesn't mean we're taking the foot off the feeling that you have just now. In fact, that pause is going to double down on that now. So
and this band are very good at kind of transitioning that within those styles. At no point did this sound like we're just kind of gluing all these bits together. Like it was like each genre was like a drop of paint that's all been brushed together, if you know what I mean. And the end color is grey, basically.
Inevitably,
but like not in an uninteresting way. Like this is still very exciting. It's extremely intense, like very, very heavy in places. They will often slow things right down and just kind of clamp the most dissonant of chords together to put like an exclamation mark on the end of a track. It's just, and it gets like colossally heavy at points. Guitar work is great actually on this, right across the board, and it's as much kind of raw and brutal as it is textured and kind of ethereal at times. They really paint such a mood with the guitars. I think it was track 4, Days Feel Rehearsed, I think it was the track. That is one ugly son of a bitch. Like that is just, it kind of reminded me of like that kind of ulcerate level of kind of like dissonance and misery. It's just so dense sounding. Then there's tracks where the guitars are like minimal, like that tracks like Cadaver, Synod, which is like the guitars are kind of almost kind of like jangly kind of discords with this really like experimental kind of weirdness. So like the album just gives you this wide range of styles and all kind of shaded in different tones of grey and black. Vocally though, I think vocally it's ruthless, to put it in a word, but we got a taste of what Andrew could do on the Dowboys album, but hearing his full kind of range of abilities on this is much more impressive. He has like a harrowing delivery on these tracks, like from these really like blackened screams down to the kind of guttural kind of roars, and he really he doesn't relent at all, really, apart from like the like track 2, Night Wept, where he's got this kind of low, kind of haunting, kind of clean vocal that kind of gives you these chills. It's like, as you say, it's kind of almost like kind of spoken word stuff at times, but he is just like pouring his soul out onto this album. You can hear every emotion coming through on every track here. His performance on this is a real highlight. I think a lot of the feeling you get from this album is also aided by the production. It's part of the kind of full package. It's a very noisy and kind of harsh sounding production. I get the feeling they left in a lot of the additional feedback and interference just to add to the misery and the anarchy of the album. It's not overproduced in the slightest, but this album wouldn't have worked if it was too polished up.
Oh God, no! Yeah.
Especially with all the kind of the fucked up electronics that are a kind of layer of disorder in itself. That it kind of binds a lot of the album together. Yeah, I agree. It's not an easy listen. I was the same. I got to the end of this and I was like, oh my God, just absolutely spent. Like you are after like a Will Haven album, or also kind of similar kind of feel when I listened to the Meth album from last year as well. It's that kind of
like a Theft. Remember a Theft?
Yeah. Oh yes, by Still. Yeah.
You got to the end of it, you were just like, right, we are just going to take a little bit of me time. And that me time doesn't involve headphones. It doesn't involve music, and I'm going to walk the dog.
Yeah. But at the same time, like when the mood strikes for something bleak and cathartic,
which it will.
Yeah.
We're complex people, Dave, and you will there will be a time where you're like that. I need something to make me feel right now.
Yeah. If you're looking for that kind of like feeling of that cathartic feeling, an album that just doesn't hold back, then A Hole Beneath the Home We Shared is very much worth your time. I thought this was really well done, and for a debut album,
insane.
This kind of nuts. Like, not what I was expecting. Like when I'd read on the Callous Boys press release, it was a Atlanta hardcore band. I did not expect this at all.
Hardcore doesn't really do this justice.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
That's a PR person got that. Hardcore.
But to be honest, I think I'm more impressed than I thought I was going to be from reading that. This is very talented band. Interesting to see where they go next with this. Final thing, scores for A Hole Beneath the Home We Shared. What are you thinking for this one?
So this is like a high scoring week for bands, just across the board for me. It's a 4.5. I think this is absolutely incredible. I don't know what I would do to change the nature to give it a 5.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that it won't be far away from coming. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I think everything that needs to be here is here. I think it is a deeply unpleasant listen, which I think is what the authors of this particular tome were designed. Are designing the album to do. So I think it hits on that level. Really interesting one to watch out for. Like super curious. This to me feels like I feel excited in the same way I did when we reviewed. We just mentioned it before from Nashville.
Oh yeah, no,
like when we did that first Null album, and you were like fucking everything in, and I was like that, and then their second album came out, and I was like that, no, everything in, Dave. You're right. I kind of feel that way where I'm reticent to give it a 5, but I think for good reason. I think this is a very exciting thing to listen to. Like I say, hard to recommend, but isn't it like an hour and a half album? You can get through this, and I think you will want to listen to it based on what we've said.
Yeah.
But you probably won't feel great about yourself when you get to the end of it. So 4.5 from me. What about yourself?
100% agree. 4.5 from myself as well. As I say, it's an album, it won't always be the right time for this album, but when it is, it's kind of amazing. Really enjoyed this in a weird kind of way. It's not an album you'll be singing about afterwards, but it leaves its impression on you for sure. 4.5 from me as well. Check this one out. Releases on May 30th on Terminus Hate City. I'll put some links into the band, the pre-order, one of the singles, so you can check them out. Let us know what you think. Happy to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. That is a review. Thanks for checking it out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Just